Ladies and gentlemen, more anticipated than Dolph Ziggler cashing in the Money in the Bank contract, it is episode number 7 of the Last Fan Standing podcast. We had WrestleMania go down on Sunday, and we had a pretty friggin' fantastic Raw go down last night.
Pretty awesome.
It was pretty damn good.
I didn't get to watch it as it was going down, but I caught it on YouTube because people were awesome enough to say that this episode was freaking awesome. We'll put it on like 12 minutes after it's gone off the air.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah. They got it uploaded and done pretty quick. The crowd in the Izod Center for Raw last night was just unfucking-leavable. Like, they were just great. And again, of course, we had the top show of the year. We had WrestleMania 29 on Sunday, which we both watched live. Justin and Nick with you, of course, Last Fan Standing podcast. And we're going to get into WrestleMania as well as Raw last night.
Sure deal.
Exactly. So if you could sum up, not Raw last night, but WrestleMania.
WrestleMania?
If you could sum up WrestleMania in, let's say, a sentence. Give me a sentence that just in general sums up WrestleMania for you.
Mostly predictable, kind of disappointing.
Okay. Fair enough. And I think that's kind of a general sort of sentiment among a lot of fans, where it doesn't bother me so much that, yes, it was predictable. Like, I mean, we knew that Cena was winning the title.
Oh, sure.
We knew that, we basically knew that Del Rio was retaining the title because it just didn't feel like the right time to put the belt on Swagger. We basically knew that The Undertaker was going to beat CM Punk. We pretty much knew that
The Shield was going to win.
Yeah. We pretty much knew that the tag titles weren't going anywhere. We could both kind of see Miz winning the Intercontinental title, which did not mean anything. Apparently didn't mean anything, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
It's garbage.
So it was predictable, but where I think it doesn't end up being such a huge deal for, or it seems like it doesn't end up being such a huge deal for you and I is because we kind of knew this months out, and I think we kind of came to terms with it. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't, even after we finished watching WrestleMania, we weren't up in arms about the fact that it was all sort of predictable to us.
Well, after the Royal Rumble, I think we came
after you rage quit life.
Yeah. After that, we came to terms with a lot of things with the WWE. Like creative is not going to change. You're predictable. You know what's going to happen, but we love wrestling and we're going to watch it anyway.
Exactly. To see those few sort of special moments that really stand out and really like reaffirms your love for professional wrestling. And you know what? Last night's Raw could very well be one of those moments. Like, absolutely. Not since like the crowd embraced like Daniel Bryan with the whole yes no gimmick. Like, that was just sort of something that he did, and then all of a sudden one crowd one night embraced it, and now look how over Daniel Bryan is. Like, that was one of those watershed moments for a guy like Daniel Bryan, and I think last night has the potential to be that for a couple of other superstars, but of course we'll get into that a little bit later. So we'll just quick run down the card here for you that happened Sunday night, WrestleMania 29. Of course, you may noticed by its absence was the 8-person tag team match.
They ran out of time.
Apparently, they decided they were going to run long on time because Cena and The Rock needed to counter each other's finishers 400 times and take 25 minutes of rest holds.
Yeah, which was horrible.
Exactly.
And they cheated us out of like 7 minutes of pay-per-view time, so you could have brought out tons of funk.
Exactly. It was more, I think it was like 7 or 8 or 9 minutes or something like that. It was because I was looking at my watch and I was like, they're already up at the end of the ramp and there's like 12 minutes of the show left, so what's going to happen? And everybody started joking on the internet too. It's like, oh, look at that, 8-person tag team's going to main event WrestleMania because they thought it was going to come out after Rock and Cena, which I thought would have been hilarious. Because it would have been like, wow, like WWE creative got some balls there for a second. Because they were just going to be like, the hell with it.
You know,
give them
WWE spotlight.
The Bella Twins I could even sort of understand because at least one of them's been like the women's Divas champion before. But like giving the Funkadactyls the main event spot in WrestleMania would have been like, hey, guess what? Now we're Shakara. Which, no disrespect to Shakara. Shakara's awesome and would actually have the balls to do something like that. But WWE clearly does not. So yeah, the 8-person tag match, which was going to be Tons of Funk, which is of course Brodus Clay and Tensai, Sweet Tea, and the Funkadactyls, Cameron and Naomi, were supposed to take on Team Rhodes Scholars, which is of course Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow, who break up and get back together more than Taylor Swift and her team of boyfriends. Because apparently they're back together as a tag team now. And the returning Bella Twins, who I would have to imagine probably signed their contract based on the fact that they were going to get a spot in WrestleMania, and then the match gets cut. It's got to be kind of annoying.
We read somewhere the Bella Twins are going out with John Cena and Daniel
Bryan.
Yeah.
One of them's going out with Cena. One of them's going out with Bryan. Jeez, wouldn't that be a weird 4-way?
It would.
Which is like, I don't know which one is mine. Fuck it. We had a little bit of the No Holds Barred podcast drip in there. Sorry, folks. So the match was scrapped from the pay-per-view due to time constraints, apparently. And the match ended up taking place last night on Raw, which, if the match that took place last night on Raw was the basic blueprint of the match that would have taken place at Mania, how could you not squeak that onto the card somewhere?
It's true.
Because, like, okay, yeah, they come out and they needed a commercial break during their entrances or whatever, but, like, entrance plus match was, like, 6.5 to 7 minutes of television time.
There's the rest of our time that you took away from us.
Look, exactly. You could have. You're telling me that in between Triple H and Brock and the main event, twice in a lifetime rematch of the century, whatever you want to call it, you're telling me that in between those two matches, you couldn't have slipped in, fucking Tons of Funk and the Funkadactyls and Team Rhodes Scholars and the Bella Twins? You're telling me you couldn't slip that match in there? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know what they're talking about.
You gave The Miz and Wade Barrett 6.5 minutes on the pre-show. 6.5 minutes of an hour-long pre-show.
Right.
Which was ridiculous. I'm glad we only watched a half hour of it. Because the whole pre-show was just an hour of just like, here's what's going to happen later. It's like, well, we already know what's going to happen later. Why?
Like, the pre-show was like 6 previews of Rock versus Cena.
Right. And then, here's a match. 6.5 minute match. All right, let's go back to Rock Cena previews.
Right, yeah. Can't get enough of those promos.
Can't get enough of those promos and previews. But yeah, so Tons of Funk beat the Rhodes Scholars in, like I said, like the match itself was like under 5 minutes of television time. There's no excuse to why they couldn't have slipped that onto the card, but I guess they thought they weren't going to be able to. We actually thought Rhodes Scholars and the Bella Twins were going to go over in that match. Which, of course, maybe if the match would have been on Mania, maybe they would have gone over.
Yeah.
But where it was sort of just a Raw, they were just like, well, we don't want, let's give it to the Funk of whatevers. And let's just do that and sort of move on and move past it. So that's what we're going to do, too. We're going to move past it because it wasn't on the WrestleMania card, and the match itself only ended up being whatever.
Moving on.
So the pre-show match, which we alluded to here a couple of minutes ago, the WWE Intercontinental Championship, Wade Barrett defending the title against The Miz.
Mike the Miz
Mizanin.
the Builder.
Can we fix it? I'm starting to think I like The Miz more than most people. I don't mind him. I actually think his in-ring is so much better now than it was a year ago.
Oh, most absolutely.
And that was so much better than it was 2 years. Like, I mean, we're talking about a guy that 3 years ago main evented WrestleMania, but then to even see where he came even since then to his in-ring now, I think it's so much better, but people don't seem to have any appreciation whatsoever for this. Yeah.
Really? Because the crowd seems to love him. And I mean, I've never had a problem with The Miz. He's been an excellent wrestler in my books.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to differentiate between the crowd and the internet wrestling community, because the internet wrestling community does not like The Miz.
Well, they don't count.
We're part of that community, sir.
I know. And
So everyone besides us doesn't count.
The podcast community listeners, they count.
Okay.
But the internet wrestling ones, they don't count.
They don't count. Okay. No. That's a good line to draw, sir. You did a good job.
If they kind of mix half and half, and
like a Venn diagram,
then they kind of matter. If you, yeah.
Okay. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
we'll just go with that.
Basically, we don't want to offend anyone that actually listens to our podcast, but the people that don't, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I'll tell you who does matter. Who does matter is DelXman. YouTube.com/DelXman. One of the best YouTube wrestling vloggers that I've ever seen. Go look at his stuff because it's good. But yeah, so we had Wade Barrett defending the Intercontinental title against The Miz. The Miz goes over on Wade Barrett, which we both thought was going to happen. Yeah. So we called it. Woo! We called The Miz going over on Wade Barrett. He goes over by way of submission, the figure 4 leg lock, or as somebody
figure 3
and a
half.
Somebody made that joke on I think it was on might have even been on Botchamania. Yeah. It was just like figure 3.5. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, sort of. He's still not great at that move, but he's getting better. Again, only a 6.5 minute match, and he wins the Intercontinental title. I thought this was a pretty good match, especially given the fact that it was on the pre-show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was back and forth. Both guys had advantages. Both guys pulled out decent moves. And both guys, I think, either kicked out of or escaped from a finisher. Because Wade Barrett got out of the first figure 4. And The Miz kicked out of Wasteland. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Even though Wasteland's not really Wade's finisher anymore, but still, it used to be. Yeah. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. I'm still waiting to see the feud Wade Barrett and Cassius Ohno, because they both use that bull hammer. They use the same finishing move.
Oh yes.
So I'm still waiting for Cassius Ohno to be brought up to the main roster so he can come out on Raw one night or on SmackDown and be like, "Hey, Wade Barrett, you stole my move." That could be a feud for a couple of months there. And it would actually be really good matches between the two of them.
It would.
So I'm still waiting for that. WWE, get on that shit.
Probably never happened, but it would.
Probably never happened, no. So yeah, again, Miz goes over like we predicted he was going to. And then Barrett... This annoyed you, I think, even more than it annoyed me. So why don't you take this one? What happened the next night?
Oh, buddy. What did happen the next night? The next night, there was a match, a rematch. Wade Barrett, he invoked his rematch clause.
Because the WWE is horny for rematches.
Oh, man.
Almost as bad as the UFC.
For the Intercontinental Championship.
Intercontinental Championship.
Intercontinental.
Pat Patterson's Intercontinental Championship. Sorry, go ahead.
Screw you. I talk the way that I want to.
Exactly.
It's my America.
Is it? Nick Stevenson's America.
Anyways, yeah, long and short of the story is The Miz won back the championship, and it's
Wade Barrett won back the championship. I see that's the problem. I got Nick all flustered by making fun of the Intercontinental Championship, so I got him all flustered. Yeah, Wade wins the title back the next night.
Makes no sense.
What's the point?
Makes no sense.
I would love to have someone intelligibly articulate to me what the point was of having The Miz win the title on the pre-show of WrestleMania, actually like attempting to sort of solidify his face turn, and then just have Barrett win it back the next night.
Yeah, no.
To me, it doesn't make any sense. To me, it goes right back to the whole WWE problem of devaluing their championships. I don't know. To me, it just doesn't work. I thought it was dumb.
It was dumb.
Yeah.
Completely 100%.
So that's our reaction to that match. It was fucking dumb. Well, the one on Raw was dumb. The one on the pre-show was decent.
One on pre-show was pretty awesome.
But
I mean, I liked it.
Exactly. But the one on Raw was a decent match, but stupid outcome.
Dumb.
Moving on. Next, we have the match that opened the pay-per-view, which we were surprised that this was the match that opened the pay-per-view.
Interesting.
Sheamus's Super Friends, that's Sheamus, Randy Orton, and The Big Show, taking on Sierra Hotel India Echo Lima Delta Shield. And obviously Shield's WrestleMania debut. We were actually really, really pumped for their WrestleMania debut to see what they were going to do.
Oh, yeah.
And as we had hoped, we predicted it, but we were hoping more so than we predicted it. The Shield goes over on Sheamus, Orton, and Big Show, with Dean Ambrose getting the pin on Randy Orton at 10 minutes and 35 seconds. So it's still kind of a relatively short time frame for a six-man tag match, only 10.5 minutes. But at the same time, the match didn't feel rushed. It felt like the match worked of its own.
Flowed, and I mean, there was some really good points in the
match.
My,
there were awesome high spots in that match. There really, really were.
When Ambrose flew through the second served rope.
Yeah.
And missed, and went head first into the barrier.
It was like he deflected off of Orton's face, because he kind of hits him, but then he almost goes in another direction, and just basically head first into the friggin' barricade. And we watched it, and that was one of the biggest pops in the whole night for us. We were just like, oh shit, Rollins is dead. We were just like, that's a broken neck. And yeah, that was actually really, really boss when he did that suicide dive. I liked when both Big Show and I think Sheamus ripped open the guys' flak jackets when they were doing the big slap or Sheamus's Irish hand grenades.
Yeah,
those clubbing blows to the chest. I thought it was really cool because it makes sense, because these guys are wrestling in what are assumed anyways to be flak jackets. So it's like, well, I'm not going to do as much damage if I'm punching a flak jacket, but if I rip the flak jacket open, then I'm going to do a lot more damage. So it was good. It's good ring psychology. It makes sense.
Yeah. It was just funny because you had the Big Show with Ambrose.
Yes.
And he was doing his slaps.
Right.
And then what's his face? Seth Rollins comes over and is trying to get Big Show off, and Sheamus came over and he was just like, shit, no, and he put him on the rope.
Yeah, exactly. He puts him on the ropes and starts hitting him with Irish hand grenades.
Yeah,
that was pretty good. I also I liked what happened after the match. Now, just the way the match basically went down, again, for us, especially for a six-man tag match, very, very solid match. There was a lot of back and forth. Shield was really getting beaten up until Big Show got into the match, and this was kind of a theme. Sheamus and Orton kind of avoided getting Big Show into the match.
They were playing keep away with Big Show.
And then when Big Show finally did get into the match, the Shield was working him over. They were working him over pretty well.
Yeah.
And, it was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Orton ends up stealing a tag, because Sheamus was going to tag Big Show, but then Orton reaches over and steals the tag and gets in, and that gets Big Show all pissed off. Orton gets eventually speared by Roman Reigns, and then Dean Ambrose pins him.
Big Show just stands there
exactly.
You didn't want me to come in.
Exactly.
Screw you.
You want to steal the tag? Fair enough. You reap what you sow. And then after the match, Show gives them both WMDs, and I thought that was really good, because it's there's the couple of people that was in the crowd, and then even sort of us that was just sort of thinking are they turning Big Show babyface again? And then that just sort of solidifies it, just nah, these are three guys that still have a lot of issues between them, which is good, because it continues the storyline. Now, last night on Raw, this kind of continued, because both Orton and Sheamus were just hey, I want a shot at Big Show, because he screwed us over last night. And this was one part of Raw last night that bugged me. Maybe the only part of Raw last night that bothered me. They went to the length of doing a WWE active poll about who the WWE Universe wants to fight Big Show.
Right.
It was tweet WWE Orton or WWE Sheamus. So Orton wins with like 77% of the vote.
Yeah.
And then Booker T and Vicky Guerrero come out, and they're just like, "Oh, I guess the WWE Universe can't decide." It was 77%. How much more convincing do you need?
Yeah.
That's almost an A-. Like, I'm not sure how much more convincing. And then they're like, "Well, we'll just have a match between Randy Orton and Sheamus." It's like, well, then what was the point of doing the poll?
Right.
Because they didn't have anywhere else in the show that they could do their WWE active stuff that they have to do now. So they just sort of tossed it in, and it ended up being meaningless.
So stupid.
That, like, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. But the match itself between Sheamus and Randy Orton was not overly bad. They were having their match, and then Big Show ends up interfering, and this crowd in the Izod Center pops bigger for when Big Show comes out as a heel than either Orton or Sheamus, who are both faces. And it's like, okay, this is the crowd being smarks. This is the crowd being smart marks, right? It's like, oh, we can't cheer for either of the baby faces because they're boring. And, the argument can be made that babyface Sheamus and babyface Orton are boring compared to heel Sheamus or especially heel Orton, because Orton's a fantastic heel, which I really want to see them turn Randy Orton heel again. I think that'd be the best thing for his career. But then again, you were saying a little while ago, doesn't he want to take time off?
Yeah,
Randy Orton.
I've read that he wants to take some time off in 2013, 14.
Okay. Well, there might be some time in there for a short heel run before he takes some time off. Who knows? It's WWE creative, so you never really know. So again, no Orton heel turn. No Orton heel turn. That's a little better.
There we go.
And as they had the match on Raw, Big Show interfered. It was what it was. Next match on the WrestleMania card, we had Hercules Hernandez versus Ryback versus Mark Henry.
Yeah. Hall of Pain versus Feed Me More.
Exactly. Feed me the Hall of Pain. Which isn't, I guess is kind of what happened. But this match was really weird to me, especially the ending, which we'll kind of get to here in a minute. But Mark Henry beats Ryback by pinfall, just a little bit over 8 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And this match to me was really as expected. I mean, these guys are never going to go out and put on a 35-minute classic.
Oh, God, no.
Right? They're going to be the guys that are going to go out for max 10 minutes, and it's going to be real high impact. It's going to be a lot of slams and throws and strikes.
Well, I mean, that's what they do.
Exactly. That's what they're on the card for. So again, it was basically as expected. There were a lot of rest holds. It was a slow-paced match. I thought the finish to this match was really dumb. Do you remember what the finish to the match was?
I can't even remember what I did yesterday.
Well, there you go. You were over here yesterday, sir.
I was?
At some point.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hooray. No, but the finish to this match was Ryback picks up Mark Henry like he's going to hit him with shell shock.
Oh, yeah.
And then Henry holds onto the ropes, wiggles the ropes a little bit, and Ryback just falls over like he had a stroke or something. And it's just like, oh, Mark Henry landed on Ryback's head. And then he just rolls him over and pins him. Just like,
so
that
stupid.
That ending kind of stunk the place up. The match up to that point wasn't a classic by any means, but it was what you expect from Mark Henry and Ryback.
Yeah.
Neither one of they're both. I would argue they're both great athletes, but at the same time, you know what you're going to get from performers like that.
Yeah, that's true.
But that finish was just dumb. I don't want to be negative because it was a show that I really enjoyed, but that finish was dumb.
No, just say it. If it was dumb, they have to know it.
Exactly.
They have to know their role and do their shit right.
Something like that. But now, the next night on Raw. So basically we can say Mark Henry defeated Ryback by way of leverage.
Yeah.
That was the way that it happened on the pay-per-view. Now, the next night on Raw, Mark Henry comes out at the beginning of the show. Cena was out first, and Cena was giving his championship address or whatever.
Right.
And then Mark Henry comes out. And Mark Henry is getting the obvious sort of anti-Cena push, basically. So he... my name's Justin. Mark Henry comes out and basically challenges Cena and is like, hey, I want to be the first guy in line to win the title because I beat Ryback last night.
Yeah, well, Cena was putting up a challenge anyway.
Basically, yeah. He was just like, nobody's going to take this from me or whatever. And then out comes somebody going to get their ass kicked. Cause I'll never not love Mark Henry's theme song. It's great. So he comes out and challenges Cena. They have a non-title match.
Which could turn into a title match.
But they said it can't be a title match because The Rock has a guaranteed rematch.
Third in a lifetime.
So exactly. Thrice in a lifetime. John Cena versus The Rock. Probably in the main event of Extreme Rules.
Or WrestleMania next year.
Or fucking WrestleMania next year. Maybe they'll just wait. They'll just build it again. Let's just do over again. Third straight WrestleMania where we just have a do-over main event.
The title can't be wrestled for until next WrestleMania.
Oh my God, that'd be terrible. That guarantees Cena has the belt for a year. That would be horrendous.
Would suck.
And it, again, like you said, it would never be defended. That would be just... I think that would be the point that I would stop watching wrestling.
I think so.
So they have a non-title match. You can look in the beer can all you want, sir. There's none left. And Cena wins the match by countout, which okay. So Cena wins the match by countout. Mark Henry attacks Cena after the match, and out comes Ryback. Ryberg. So out he comes to make the save, and he beats up Mark Henry and sends him flying. And then he helps John Cena up.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ryback assaults John Cena. Hits him with the meat hook clothesline, picks him up, and shell shocks him. And then basically picks up the belt, and he's just like, feed me more, and he's got the title. Crowd is blowing up, whether that's because they love Ryback or they just don't like Cena.
Probably both.
It's a combination of both, I'm sure. It kind of remains to be seen. But so I have to ask, is this a Ryback heel turn, or is he a tweener, or what do you think the deal is with what Ryback did last night?
I don't know, because I can't see Ryback being a heel.
I really
just
can't
like
either.
Big Show isn't a heel; he's a tweener. I mean,
right.
There's no heels anymore in WWE.
There's very few.
Creative is just like we're too much of a family PG G-rated show that we can't have heels anymore. So you're just going to come out one night, you're going to be like, oh, skippy-dippy-doo with your flowers and your dancing unicorns and shit like this.
Right.
And then the next night you're going to come out and you're going to be grumpy face. And the next night you're going to come out and you're going to be all neutral, and it's just going to be an alternating thing.
Mm. Yeah, fair enough. It's true. There are very few good heels in WWE right now. I would argue that Zeb Coulter is a good heel, but he's not an actual wrestler.
True.
And like by association, I guess Jack Swagger is a good heel because he associates with Zeb Coulter. But like you can even say like CM Punk would be an awesome heel if the fans didn't love him. You know what I mean? So that's not necessarily creative's fault. That's almost the fan base's fault. But I mean, you can't fault the fans for being like, hey, this is our guy and we like him. whatever he does. Because
Right.
when he's a heel, he's the best heel on the roster. When he's a babyface, he's the best babyface on the roster. So we just like him. So it's like that's kind of the way the wrestling crowd goes nowadays. So it is partially creative's fault because they're not willing to push the envelope, but it's also partially, the fans. The fans might not be willing to accept the paradigm of babyfaces and heels anymore. Maybe everybody's a tweener for a reason. I don't know. It's hard to say, I guess.
Yep. Very hard to say.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if it's that Ryback's making a quote unquote heel turn, or if it's just like Ryback's just like, well, even though I lost last night, I want the belt, and you're the guy that's got the belt, so I'm gonna do what I do because I'm Ryback. Mm-hmm. So that's a possibility too.
That's what he do.
That's what I do. Really like Mark Henry. Next match was the WWE Tag Team Championships of the World. Team Hell No defending the tag titles. Nick screwing around with the soundboard against Ziggy and Biggie.
Ziggy and Biggie?
I think that should be their actual team name. I think that was awesome. Ziggy and Biggie.
I don't think they deserve to have a team name.
No, probably not.
I don't like them.
Of course, as we predicted, Team Hell No goes over on the challengers, Ziggler and Langston. Daniel Bryan ends up getting the pinfall on Dolph Ziggler at 7 minutes and 29 seconds. They retain the tag team championships.
Hooray.
Hooray. Basically, again, what we thought was basically going to happen. What I thought was really cool, right at the beginning of the match, they almost mimicked the Kiss of Death from last year at Mania.
Right.
Which we didn't overly like, the whole Kiss of Death thing, like where she kisses Daniel Bryan and then Sheamus beats him in 18 seconds. We didn't really like that last year, as I recall. But they kind of mimic it this year because AJ kisses Dolph and then Daniel Bryan kicks him in the head and almost pins him and almost beats him right there, which would have been kind of funny if they would have done it, but at the very least they teased it, right? So that was kind of cool. Dolph and Bryan, these are two teams that actually matched up really, really well between the two of them, because Dolph and Daniel Bryan kind of bring the technique, and Biggie and Kane are obviously your kind of power sort of guys. And what I was really looking for in this match is, did Biggie Langston look out of place? That was what I was kind of worried about, because he hadn't had really a match on Raw, and his matches were really only matches on like NXT. Right. So my big concern is, well, God, he's on WrestleMania. Like, is he really going to look at a place? Didn't look at a place as far as I could see. Looked like he actually belonged there. He's not the greatest in-ring talent we're ever going to see.
Absolutely
by
not.
a long shot.
No.
But at the very least, I didn't think he looked out of place, I guess.
Well, maybe you didn't, but...
You thought you did, did you?
Yeah,
you kind of thought he was... Did you? Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't really have many moves.
No. He is kind of green.
Yeah.
You're right.
And they really should have waited.
Probably, or at least given him some matches on Raw before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of give him a chance in actual in-ring competition to kind of build up to WrestleMania, not just like you're going. Oh, look, here's WrestleMania. Right? So, yeah, fair enough. Well, there you go. We have some dissension in the Last Fan Standing podcast, because I didn't think he looked out of place and you did. I shake
the broken face.
I shake my fist in your general direction. No, but decent enough match. Daniel Bryan wins it after hitting the Chris Benoit headbutt. I would really love, if I got the opportunity to ask Daniel Bryan one question, that's what I would ask him. I would ask him, like, are you at all concerned that by doing the Chris Benoit headbutt as frequently as you do it, that you leave yourself open to stuff like concussions and brain damage and
stuff.
Everything like that? Like, is that at all a concern to you, or are you smart?
He would just look at you and go, meh.
Exactly. Goat face. Nice. Well played. So yeah, Team Hell No retains tag titles. Pretty much what we thought. It was a fast-paced match. I thought the match was very good. So it certainly didn't look out of place, and it wasn't one of those matches where it's like, oh, this is a final, like, screw you to the tag team division or anything like that. It was at least a good tag team match.
Moving on.
Chris Jericho versus Fandango. You thought I was going to do it.
Say my name right.
Do it. I did say his name right. It's Fandango.
You got to emphasize it.
Fine, I'll do it just for your benefit. Fandango.
There you go.
Hooray.
That looked awesome with the spikes.
It looked very interesting. So we had Chris Jericho versus Fandango, and Fandango went over, which kind of surprised me.
Which was a really botched ending.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a botch in the ending. If you didn't watch the match, well, first of all, Fandango defeats Chris Jericho by pinfall, which is basically just a roll-up at about 9.5 minutes. And the ending to it was a little bit botched because Jericho knocks Fandango down, and I can't remember how he did that, but in any case, he knocks Fandango down, and then he goes for a lion salt. But Fandango was way too close to the ropes, so like he goes and Jericho like flies over him, like just clears him completely.
Yeah.
But Fandango put his knees up because that's the way the spot was supposed to go. Is you put your knees up, Jericho catches his knees and then goes for it. But he missed him completely, so he just like missed him, and Fandango just like turns his knees towards him, and he's like, "Here, take my legs." So it was a bit of a botched ending, for sure. I remember when we watched it, we were just like, "Ah, that's unfortunate," because it was a pretty good match up to that point.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, and it was still that didn't totally torpedo the match. The match was still decent, but that botch was kind of funny. So yeah, Fandango goes over. A lot of back and forth in the match, the finisher counters, all that good stuff. The kind of stuff that you would like to see from two guys that have in-ring that is as good as these two, like especially Jericho. Jericho could have a good match with anybody.
Right.
But he went out there with a guy in Fandango that I think can have a good match in and of himself. We needed to see that. I think we got at least glimpses of that at Mania.
I don't think so.
Nick is not a Fandango fan.
I am not. I like to see him do more, to wrestle more.
Yeah.
To actually perform moves in the ring.
Well, he had a little bit of a match, like a half match with Kofi Kingston on Monday. I keep fucking yawning. I don't know where it's coming from. But he had a little bit of like a half match with Kofi Kingston on Raw, which Jericho came out and interfered in. I guess, yeah. And then it was just like, it's kind of funny. Fandango's like beaten up and he's down on the ground or on the mat, and he's still like, "It's Fandango." And you know what? Fandango is really over with the New York, New Jersey crowd. At multiple points during the evening, the crowd started humming his theme song. Just out of nowhere, in matches that he wasn't in. They just started humming Fandango's theme song. Nice. It's just like, what, where is that? Why? Why? But like, I don't know. I guess they really liked him. Is this a Smark thing? I don't know. Maybe they actually just like Fandango. Maybe they just like the character. I don't know.
Why would they like the character?
You're so jaded. You're so jaded.
Dancing and wrestling does not go together.
3 count? Sing along with 3 count. You'll party on forever.
That's singing. That's not dancing.
They were dancing too.
No.
Moving on.
No. No.
Moving on, we had the World Heavyweight Championship match between Alberto Del Rio, defending the title, with Ricardo Rodriguez against Jack Swagger with Zeb Coulter. Del Rio ends up going over on Swagger, like we thought, by submission. Of course, his armbar at about 10.5 minutes to retain the World Heavyweight Championship.
Oh, yeah.
I had to move. My butt's falling asleep. Apparently just like the rest of me. Prior to the match, Coulter had another really good promo. He went after ethnic groups that he had not gone after before. So he was just like, damn Italians and people speaking Yiddish and the Greeks and basically all of the ethnic groups that make up New York, which is really good because they were in New Jersey. So yeah, it was another pretty solid rant there by Coulter, and this was another match that it didn't stand out. Like there wasn't anything that I saw anyways really that was just like, oh my God, what a great spot or anything.
Right.
But it was a solid match. It was a match that made sense. There was good back and forth. It was just a solid fundamental sort of wrestling match.
Yeah, that's true.
Not necessarily the kind of match that I would have thought that I would get in a title match at WrestleMania. Like I would have thought that there would have been maybe some more high spots and stuff like that. But I'll take a solid wrestling match any day. So worked for me. Both managers got involved, but they weren't the focal points of the match.
Right.
And like there's good managerial involvement and there's bad managerial involvement. But this was actually pretty good because they kind of kept it down. And then there was Monday night. The rematch between Alberto Del Rio and Jack Swagger. But it was a 2-on-1 handicap match because it also included Zeb Coulter.
Which did not do anything.
Who didn't do anything. He stood on the apron. But it was like, all right, whatevs. I kind of wanted to see Coulter get in the ring. To be perfectly honest, I kind of wanted to see that.
It would be interesting.
Although it didn't happen, but, whatevs. And again, fourth. So Coulter didn't get in the ring at all, but that's fine. Alberto Del Rio makes Jack Swagger tap out again. Second night in a row.
Yeah.
That, to me, effectively ends this feud.
Well, it does.
Because Del Rio beat Swagger clean 2 nights in a row. So that, to me, ends this feud.
But also, Jack Swagger, he had that Patriot locked in.
He did.
A lot.
He did, for sure. There was at least 2, if not 3, during that match. It's okay, Mom. You can make noise. Sorry. Every podcast or every video we do, my mom makes a cameo appearance at some point. So he did definitely had his finish on a couple of times and felt like could have finished it. He definitely worked Del Rio's ankle real good, especially in the match on Raw. He worked his ankle real good. Del Rio ended up getting the win. And then why don't you tell us what happened?
Ziggles came out and he's all like, I have this blue briefcase that says Money in the Bank and I want to use it.
Dolph Ziggler cashes in Money in the Bank. I didn't notice this the first time, like when we were watching the original match at Mania, but after the match, after Del Rio had made Swagger tap out, the crowd was chanting, "We want Ziggler."
Oh, I know. They were chanting it halfway through the match.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
That I didn't overly pick it up, I guess. But then I was wondering why are they booing when the match was over? Because after it became obvious that Ziggler wasn't coming out,
right?
Then they were booing. Right? And I was just like, why are they booing? I thought that was a good match, but that's why they were booing, because they wanted Ziggler.
Oh yeah.
So ask and thou shalt receive, I guess, because Dolph Ziggler came out while Alberto Del Rio is down and prone and a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, and he came out and he finally cashed in Money in the Bank. People have been screaming for Ziggler to cash in Money in the Bank, and he finally did. In front of a crowd that was already hot, that was already a good sort of active crowd. And when Ziggler's music hit, the place just erupted to the point that I haven't seen in a good long while on Raw.
Yep.
Pay-per-views, yes, but on Raw, I haven't heard that much noise in a while. So it was awesome. It was really, really good. And then they had still had a 5-minute match where Del Rio locked in the armbar, and I was like, oh my god, don't you dare have Ziggler not win the title. Oh my god, don't you even think about it. And then a very smart counter to it, he just grabbed the bad ankle and just started wrenching on it until he let it go. Awesome. Nailed the zigzag. 1, 2, 3. Crowd blows up. And it's not because they don't like Del Rio. And it's not because they're just smarks and they want to cheer for the heel.
Right.
It's not the point. They know everybody who is an intelligent wrestling fan knows how good Dolph Ziggler is. They just know. They know because they see it every week.
Yeah.
It's just he is fantastic. So they finally give us. They've been tickling us. They've been teasing us for months and months and months and months and months.
Ooh.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. Fun stuff, huh? But just because they're always just Ziggler still got the briefcase, and we're like, we know. Can we see him cash it in, please? And the fact that they finally did it, and in front of that crowd, it was just it was
amazing.
One of those. And Ziggler even said it in the post match. He was like, "It might be the next night, but this is my WrestleMania moment." And I'm positive that was a shoot. I'm positive he was just like, "This is my WrestleMania moment," and I'm positive that he meant it.
Yeah.
So awesome, great moment on Raw. So happy they did it, and hooray! Undertaker Punk. Undertaker's 21-0 WrestleMania streak is on the line, and as is, I guess, the ownership of the urn in the memory of Paul Bearer.
I guess so. And we all knew that the streak wouldn't be over.
We basically knew that the streak wasn't going to end. Undertaker goes over, pins CM Punk after a tombstone at just over 22 minutes. So the Undertaker is now 21-0 at WrestleMania. After two tombstones. The first tombstone we loved because it was
it was no setup at all.
No, it was no
setup. Just pick him up and just go with it.
It was so fast.
It's I don't care where your head is. I'm going to drive it into the mat.
I don't care where you land. I don't care if I cripple you. We're doing this tombstone and we're doing it right now. You have to wonder if maybe if I didn't think Undertaker was so good, I might have been like, oh geez, he might have slipped. No, he meant to do that.
Yeah.
He definitely meant to do that. That was a really, really fantastic match. And even everything about the match was fantastic. Even the beginning. Living Color playing Cult of Personality to play Punk down to the ring.
Yeah.
Awesome. They showed up P. Diddy 10 times over.
Oh, for sure.
If you didn't know, P. Diddy and Skylar Grey, Diddy Dirty Money, did the quote-unquote halftime show at WrestleMania, did the musical interlude or whatever. And
such a disappointment.
And you know what? But everybody on Twitter was like, oh yeah, the crowd's really into this and everything like that. I didn't notice that. I didn't think the crowd was overly into it at all.
God, no.
And quite frankly, I thought P. Diddy sounded like he was really phoning it in. I even said that to you, during the performance. I was like, wow, he's really phoning this in.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound or feel like a good performance at all.
Skylar Grey coming out. I mean, the first three,
no.
yeah. What is she like?
What is she, Justin singing TikTok?
Yeah. Does she have a cold or something?
Does she know the words to the song?
She's really muffled.
Yeah. No real disrespect to Skylar Grey. I don't like her. I don't dislike her. I'm very ambivalent to her. But she screwed up those first three notes real hard.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It seemed all around like a lackluster sort of performance. And then Living Color came out, and Living Color was just no one has seen us in 20 years. So let's do a bomb performance. And they did a bomb performance of Cult of Personality leading CM Punk to the ring. So that was fantastic. And then Undertaker's entrance was great too. It wasn't it didn't even feel like it was as long as some other Undertaker entrances have been.
Yeah.
Because like the complaint sometimes against Undertaker is, oh, his entrances are like 25 minutes long and blah blah blah, and it's like, oh, no, they're not. But this one felt quicker, and I loved the way that they did like the Creatures of the Night.
Right.
With the people reaching up to grab him and everything. Something they've never really done before, because they've done the monks.
Yeah.
But they've never really sort of done like people actually in hell sort of reaching up at the Undertaker as he comes to the ring. So that was really cool, and that was really well done as far as I'm concerned. Something I didn't notice.
What?
If we go back and we take a look at the attire that Punk was wearing,
Yes.
the purple and the gray and everything like that, the color scheme of his attire is the exact same as the Undertaker's was when he first debuted.
Really?
If you go back and look at a picture of the Undertaker from SummerSlam, SummerSlam 91, I think, was it that he, or whenever it was that he debuted, it was like light pink and gray and black. And that's exactly what Punk had too. So I didn't notice it, but then people on Twitter were just like, "Oh my God, it's the same color scheme," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I really looked at it and I was like, "Oh my God, it is! That's awesome.
That's interesting."
And it's another one of those things, those little the little things that CM Punk will just toss in there to make things cool, and the couple people that pick it up, and then it spreads like wildfire. So I just kind of thought that was cool. Not a whole heck of a lot really needs to be said about this match. We knew what we were going to get. We knew we were going to get a great match, and that's what we got.
Absolutely.
It was two guys that performed really, really well. Text message. The one...
It's me forgetting to turn down my phone this time.
No worries. The one... Yeah, exactly. Ha! Nailed it. The one thing about the match that we will highlight, of course, was the attempted macho elbow through the Spanish announce table.
Oh man,
it was rough. And you had a quote that you found that somebody said about comparing CM Punk and Evil Knievel.
Yeah.
Can you kind of paraphrase it?
It almost went to the point of CM Punk knew that the table was a little bit out of his reach, much like Evil Knievel knew that the fountain was that he wasn't going to land it because it was way too wide. But they still took the plunge anyway. And that's what made it great.
Yeah, exactly. That you got a guy here that he looks and he knows it's too far, and he knows like I can't make that, but he's like, you know what? It's WrestleMania, so fuck it.
Yeah.
And he just went for it. Apparently, legit injured his ankle. Don't think he broke anything, but I think legit injured his ankle on it.
What's with the Spanish announce table since
CM Punk?
Oh my God, he's like 3-0.
He is like. Yeah, three attempts on a Spanish announce table, and it screwed up every single time. It either didn't break when it was supposed to, or broke when it wasn't supposed to.
It's a new WrestleMania streak. Oh my God, Spanish announce table WrestleMania streak. Like every WrestleMania, CM Punk's going to come out and try and do something to the Spanish announce table, and it's not going to break.
Or if it's not supposed to break, it will.
Yeah,
one or the other. Something will screw up.
He will just come out and not do anything by it. Spanish announce table to the ground.
Exactly. And I also liked when Punk had Undertaker in the Anaconda Vice.
Yeah.
And Taker just sat up and looked at him.
Why
and Punk was just like,
it's just like, holy shit, you're not supposed to do that.
Exactly. That was a great moment, and they got the perfect camera angle on it too. So I was so happy that they pulled that off. The next night, Undertaker comes out to just be like, "Hey, cool, celebrating 21-0," and out comes the friggin' Shield. And the crowd by this point is really getting into the show, and they really start going. And the announce. This is one thing that the WWE announced team is so good at. They're so good at selling the Shield. God, are they ever? They're amazing at selling the Shield. It's because Undertaker's in the ring and he's like, last night I went 21-0 and avenged the memory of Paul Bearer or whatever. And then the Shield's theme song hits. And Michael Cole's just like, oh my God. and Lawler's just like, oh shit.
They know what's up.
Exactly. So Shield comes down, Undertaker takes all his stuff off, and Undertaker's ready for a fight. And then just as they're like climbing up on the ring, Kane's pyro hits, which is just perfect timing for it. And then down comes Team Hell No, which makes it kind of interesting. Like, is that the next 6-man match?
It might be.
The Shield versus Kane, Daniel Bryan, and The Undertaker. Would that not be a fantastic 6-man match?
That would be.
Because it's like you got your two big power guys, obviously, with Taker and Kane. Taker, arguably one of the greatest of all time,
Right.
and you got Daniel Bryan in there as well. Now, like, yes, Team Hell No has already been in a couple of 6-man tag matches against the Shield, like teaming with Ryback and stuff. But I mean, there's a big difference between Ryback and the Undertaker. So
100%.
That would be, I think that would be huge. We're kind of running short on time here, so we're going to quick move through the last couple of matches here. The co-main event, if you want to call it that, Triple H versus Brock Lesnar with Triple H's career on the line. Just a brawl, a total brawl of a match. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen, but at the same time, it wasn't bad.
It had sledgehammers, it had stairs, it had
chair shots.
It had
Triple H
blood.
going through the Spanish announce table.
Yeah.
So they got the wrestlers got their revenge on the Spanish announce table by Triple H going through it. Suplexes for days. I'm surprised we didn't do the suplex joke because he did nothing but like belly to belly suplex him like 20 times in a row.
Yeah, I know. It was just it was crazy.
How did neither one of us pick that up? In any case,
I guess we were just
I guess we were waiting for the epic, fantastic John Cena The Rock match later on. I guess we just missed it.
Well, we were kind of. I was kind of hype pissed because this was
hype pissed.
Yeah, mad pissed.
Oh, okay,
hype
right
pissed,
on.
Mad
Cool.
pissed because this was the third to last match on the card, and we still hadn't seen the Tons of Funk versus.
Versus Rhodes Scholars.
And
yeah. Let's make it clear. It's not that we like badly wanted to see that match.
Oh God, no.
But we just didn't want a match that was scheduled for WrestleMania to get scrapped.
Late.
Yeah, exactly. Like we were just like, what about the 8-person match? But in any case, it didn't end up happening, unfortunately. So yeah, Triple H and Brock Lesnar, just a total brawl. Like they went everywhere. They hit each other with shit. Brock had a stupid yell. Like somebody put on Twitter that like they shaved an albino gorilla or something. That's what he sounded like. And it kind of was what he sounded like. Triple H goes over. He beats Brock Lesnar by way of pinfall after a pedigree on the steel steps. There's a lot of steel steps play there. Was. Like the steel steps played a big role in the match. 23, almost 24 minutes for this match, which is a bit longer than I thought it was going to go. But at the same time, the match still didn't feel like it drug. The one thing that really stands out in my mind about this was, Trips has jujitsu, right? Like, when Brock Lesnar puts on the Kimura, Triple H gets out of it, and then Triple H puts on the Kimura, and like not only does that, but like jumps guard on him too, and it's just like, and I even said at the time, I was like, Trips got jujitsu. Like I don't know, it was kind of weird to see it, but at the same time, it was kind of cool because knowing Brock Lesnar's MMA career, he doesn't have any submission defense,
right?
So I thought that was cool. Yeah, like we said. A lot of steel steps play and some chair shots and the sledgehammer eventually comes into play, and it was a brawl, but it was a good brawl. So
Good brawl.
Yeah, it was a good enough match as a lead-in, of course, to the main event, WWE Championship. The Rock defending the title against.
First, before we get into this, let's go back to Triple H versus Brock Lesnar for a second.
Okay.
Triple H coming down to the ring, walking through the blow-up dragon head, where there was a little bit of a botch with the fog.
Yeah, a little bit.
Machines.
A little bit.
And he got sprayed with like fog foam.
And it was all over his torso and stuff too. And he looked down at it and he was just like, well, nothing I can do about it. I can't just wipe it off because that looks dumb. So I guess I'll just go with it.
Like, got down to the ring and drenched himself with his water.
Just dumped his water on himself. And it was funny because they cut to Brock a couple times, and Brock looks like he had a smile curling on his face. So it's like Brock's trying not to corpse, seeing all this white shit on Triple H. That's true. That was funny. I did forget. I even wrote it down in the notes, and I forgot about it. Terrible.
What are you doing?
But it was funny. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Moving on.
Main event time. Twice in a lifetime. Once in a while. Rematch of the century. John Cena
versus
trying to take the WWE title from The Rock. We got $20 million a movie versus $20 million too many WWE championship runs. And now it's $20 million and one too many WWE championship runs. But again, we knew it was coming. So
yeah,
it was what it was. I didn't think this match was overly different from the match they had last year. I didn't think this match was overly better than the match they had last year.
It was a match.
I believe we said when we did our preview show for this that we wanted to see them do something different.
Right.
We wanted to see, we knew we were going to get Rock and Cena. That was a given. So it's like, okay, now that we know that this is what the match is going to be, show us something new. Show us something exciting. And they didn't do that. They just showed us basically the exact same match.
Exact same match with 15 minutes of rest holds. God,
15 minutes of rest holds, 1,500 counters.
It was horrible. It was a terrible match, and I mean, I understand The Rock. He doesn't have a large gas tank anymore.
He doesn't have a medium gas tank anymore. After about 10 minutes in that match, he was sweating like Patrick Ewing in the fourth quarter. Mm. He was getting. That's what roids will do to you. Who said that? But yeah, it wasn't anything that we hadn't already seen last year and done better. Eventually it just felt like nice. It felt like a high level WWE 13 online match where it was just two guys just spamming finishers. That's it. There was no real ring psychology really to it whatsoever. It was just Rock would go for a rock bottom, it'd get countered. Cena would go for an FU, it'd get countered. I don't call it an attitude adjustment. Screw you guys, it's an FU.
Right.
Counter. People's elbow. Oh, counter. Oh, another FU. Oh, countered. STFU. Oh, countered. And it's just
punch. Hold.
Rest.
Hold.
5 minutes later. Okay, let's go again.
What are we going to do? Throw me to the rope. What next?
Shoulder block.
Clothesline.
Clothesline. Oh my God! Can we get rid of some of the clotheslines?
Rest period.
To be perfectly honest, the match just wasn't anything new. It's not even that it was. I didn't think it was overly bad per se. I just think it was the exact same match we saw last year.
Yeah.
So really, what's the point?
There is no point.
Exactly.
There is no point. There is no spoon. There is no cake. The cake
is
a lie.
It's true. Put a number on it, sir. What? Give me a numerical rating out of 10 for this match. For this WrestleMania. For the WrestleMania as a whole.
Out of 10?
Based on how much you enjoyed the entirety of the event.
I would give it a 6.
And you know what? A 6 is the number that a lot of people are landing on. Not a bad WrestleMania by any means,
but not a good one.
Not one of the ones that like really sort of stretches up there.
Right.
I think I might go a little bit better on it. I might go 7, maybe.
You just like seeing Fandango, didn't you?
Fandango. I love his pants.
That made your WrestleMania, didn't it?
That was my WrestleMania moment. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. No, I like I say, I would probably give it a 7. I liked Triple H and Brock Lesnar. I really liked Undertaker and Punk. I liked Del Rio and Swagger. It was good enough for what it was. I liked Wade Barrett and The Miz. I thought was a good match. I liked the Shields match. Ryback and Mark Henry would have been okay if it wasn't for the stupid finish.
It's true.
The tag match I thought was relatively decent, and Jericho and Fandango was a good match. So, and you know what? It actually felt like a WrestleMania. It didn't feel like an overly long episode of Raw.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they can do these pay-per-views and there's so many like backstage segments and all this bull crap. It just feels like an episode of Raw.
Right.
Whereas nobody can say that there were too many backstage segments in that WrestleMania. There was maybe 2. Right? There weren't very many backstage.
Like 1.
Was there? Yeah.
Was there a lot?
No, there was like 2, and maybe 2 in the whole event, which is nice because some WrestleManias it's just like there's a lot of backstage stuff, and it's just like don't do that, leave that shit on Raw.
Yeah,
like WrestleMania is your big event. Keep it focused on the ring and the matches.
Yeah,
because these are supposed to be the culminations of your storylines, not the continuation of them. So this WrestleMania I thought felt more like a WrestleMania, which was good. So I'll give it a 7. Go slightly better than a lot of the other critics, but that 7 is a very thin 7.
A thin 7, okay.
If I could go 6.5, I'd go 6.5. But I like whole numbers.
Well, go 6.5.
Nah, fuck it. I like whole numbers. We'll go 7.
6.8572.
Is that pi times like 3?
Possibly.
Right on.
As long as it's cherry pie.
Wouldn't that be trippy if you just randomly came up with like pi exactly times 3 and you were just spouting off random numbers?
Yep.
You'd be a genius.
I would be something.
You'd be like that.
I'm already a genius.
You'd be like that red, blue, green guy.
I'm already a genius at technical equipment.
You're also a genius at podcasting, sir.
That's
That's why we put this team together.
I'm also a genius at this.
Don't stop making rock, DJ. Pull my speakers up tonight. I'ma fight till we see the sunlight. In case you're wondering, this is me singing.
It's from last Noholds Barred.
Don't stop making rock, DJ. Pull my speakers up tonight. I'ma fight till we see the sunlight. Tick tock on the clock, but the party don't stop now.
Yeah.
Well, we could probably effectively kiss monetization of this podcast goodbye, but that's okay.
What? It's a karaoke version of the song, so it's free for everybody.
Fair enough.
And it's you singing it.
If you would like to sample that for your videos, please feel free. Just make sure to share a like. Yes, in case you're wondering, that was me, in fact, singing Kesha's TikTok.
Yeah.
And
I spent all morning.
Yeah, Nick spent all
trying
morning
to sync that,
mixing that. He's going to be up for an Oscar next year for best sound editing.
Hey,
it's what you do. So on that note, I think we'll finish the podcast. Overall, Nick gave the show a 6. I'll give the show a 7, but it's a thin 7. Raw last night was phenomenal. Thank you so much to everyone who attended Raw last night in the Izod Center, East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yep.
You were a phenomenal crowd. Boston, you have your hands full trying to live up to what that crowd did. And again, it really shows the power that a professional wrestling crowd has in a professional wrestling event. Because the crowd is the one that has the ability to make a superstar.
Absolutely.
And last night they made a top talent superstar out of Dolph Ziggler. I will say it right now. Dolph Ziggler, and I had this argument with a guy. So, you know, we won't quite end it here. I was involved in a friendly argument with a guy on the Uncut Sports Show Facebook page. who basically was just like, "Oh, the crowd last night was just a bunch of smarks." And I was like, "No, they weren't. They're actually an intelligent wrestling crowd." It's like, "No, they're just smarks that cheer the heels and boo the faces." I'm like, "No, it's not that. Like, it's not that simple or whatever." And somehow we got on the topic of whether or not WWE had any like sort of big time superstars besides like The Rock and John Cena, because he was like, "Oh well, you know, if it wasn't for Rock and John Cena, this company wouldn't draw any money." And it was just like, you know, guys like Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan and these guys, if they were the top guys in the company, the company wouldn't draw a dime. And I was like, I don't think that's true.
No.
In the least. I think, and then it got me thinking about like booking my ideal WrestleMania 30 card,
right?
Which maybe that's what we'll do on the next podcast. We'll maybe get together and between the two of us, we'll get together and we'll book our ideal fantasy WrestleMania 30 card.
WrestleMania.
Exactly. You know what? WrestleMania 29 just ended, but screw it. We're going to book the WrestleMania 30 card anyways.
30.
So, like, I went through it, and I was like...
Big announcement is coming.
Big announcement might be coming. But the way that I put it was like, if you put Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan on the main event, last match out, the main event of WrestleMania, in a 60-minute Iron Man match for the World Heavyweight Championship, that would do 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. Because the crowd is smart, and he was like, "Oh, 1.5 million? No, that's stupid." I was like, "They did $1.2 million with Batista, or 1.2 million pay-per-view buys with fucking Batista in the main event." Yeah. You put two guys in there that could have great wrestling matches with a broom, and give them a 60-minute Iron Man match. That's going to sell 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. You're going to be able to sell to all of your current audience, and you're going to be able to sell to former audience members that have left because they got sick of the whole John Cena thing.
Right.
And they're actually wrestling fans. And you can say, "Hey, look at this wrestling match that we have in the main event of our biggest show. 1.5 million pay-per-view buys without question." So maybe that's what we'll do on the next episode of Last Fan Standing. We'll get together, we'll butt heads, we'll put our brains together, and we will book you our ideal WrestleMania.
Can I bring down a whiteboard?
Of course.
I'm in.
Exactly. We'll do that. We'll storyboard this whole thing. Maybe the next episode of the podcast will have to be a vidcast. We'll record it as a video. It'll be episode number 8 of the Last Fan Standing podcast. We'll have a whiteboard and we'll book that shit.
Excellent.
The ideas are percolating here, people.
Ooh.
There's going to be a lot of excitement brewing here for the next episode of Last Fan Standing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for taking 1 hour and 15 minutes out of your time. What? You're pointing at me like I'm the man.
Yes, I know.
I'm the man. All right.
You're going to go, "I'm Justin."
Exactly.
And I'm going to be like, "I'm Nick." And you've been listening to the Last Fan Standing podcast only on YouTube.
Exactly. YouTube.com/noholdsbarredpodcast is our YouTube page, which you already know because you're on it right now because you're listening to us.
Find us at our website at noholdsbarred.next63.net.
TikTok.
And you'll find all the links up top in the banner that you can click.
Exactly. Hit us up on our YouTube. Hit us up on Twitter. We don't have a Facebook yet.
Not yet.
Subscribe to us on iTunes.
It may be coming.
It may be coming soon. But, so iTunes, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff.
Ustream.
noholdsbarred.net63.net is where you can find everything. That is going to be deuces for another week. We will be back at you next week with episode number 15 of the No Holds Barred podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time on this lovely, lovely, lovely new week in April. Spring is coming. Be happy about it, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.